All right, Harry. Tonight we're in Matthew chapter 7, verse 24, right? And if you want to give us a little background on what's going on in the scenario of this chapter here.
Yeah, so this is the Sermon on the Mount. Matthew 5, 6, and 7 is the kind of Jesus' core teaching, is where he starts his ministry, or at least early in his ministry. There's a lot of people listening, and so he's got the audience, and he finishes this. He's got all this teaching about 20 different commandments that he goes through, and then he says that. Then he finishes it with a parable called Building the House on the Rock. And that's what we're going to read.
All right, thank you. Verse 24. Therefore, everyone who hears these words of mine and puts them into practice is like a wise man who built his house on the rock. What's Jesus talking about in this scenario?
Yeah, so he's got this whole audience there, lots and lots of people hearing his words. And everybody's going through their life. They're all building a house. Every one of us builds a house. But now the trick is to take what Jesus just taught us, these commandments, and for the rest of his ministry also. But he's saying that those that build their house on his teaching are building their house on a rock. So the rock is the teachings of Jesus. So he wants to make sure that when you're building your house, that you got to have the right foundation, and that foundation is his teachings. He's really, really concerned that we don't use our own wisdom and our own ideas and our own thoughts and do our willy-nilly stuff. We have to have the right foundation, and that's his teachings.
That's good, because I've heard some people before say to me that, oh, Jesus is the rock. And though Jesus is the rock, it's his teachings that is the rock, the foundation of what we're supposed to build on, right? Which I really like what you said there. Verse 25. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against the house. Yes, it did not fall because it had its foundation on the rock. And what is this rock that we're just talking about, just to clarify?
The teachings of Jesus. So if that is our core, our base, our solid base, and there's a lot of teachings in there. For example, do not worry. It talks about lusting and being angry and being generous, being kind, just all kinds of things in there. It's a really, really good read. But those are not just suggestions, they're commands, they're teachings. This is for real. And if we build our house on that, and the storms come, and everybody has storms, nobody's life doesn't have a storm. But if we're doing it that way, the way he's using his wisdom, his teachings, his narrow way, then our house will stand, and the storms of life can come and go. And just like in a good, strong house, you don't mind if the wind blows because you know you're all right. But if it's so shaky, that's not good. But the wind and the storm and the rain, all of it came, and the house stood.
Thank you. Verse 26. But everyone who hears these words of mine and does not put them into practice is like a foolish man who built his house on the sand. Who is this foolish man in this scenario?
Yeah, and again, the foolish man is the one that hears all these words of Jesus. And we do a lot of that in life. We have the opportunity to that. Like you hear sermons in church, we hear sermons from each other, you hear all kinds of good Christian teaching in our life. As we read the Bible, we have all this good material. But if we don't put it into practice, don't use his teachings as our foundation, then there still takes an awful lot. You don't save much by putting in no foundation. But the concept is that you're still building a house and you're still going through the effort, you're still going through life, but you really don't have the safety of his teachings. And that's what you're building if you don't have the teachings of Jesus as your rock.
All right. And verse 27, the last verse for the night. The rain came down, the streams rose, and the winds blew and beat against that house, and it fell with a great crash. Is this the consequence of life when we don't be obedient to Christ's teachings?
Yeah, it's a really, really serious verse, a real serious parable, because there's so many theologies out there, so many philosophies out there. We have to make sure that they resemble Jesus' teaching. Traditions, the Pharisees had lots and lots of traditions they had, that they brought to the table. But Jesus constantly frustrated with them because the Mosaic law was the law that they were under. And Jesus lived that law while he was on earth, because that was before the cross. but the teachings of Moses were their law. The teachings of Jesus are our law. And we have to make sure that we do that, because it's our choice. If we're doing our own ideas, if our ideas aren't the ones that Jesus gave us, if we have a lot of different things that we bring to the table at times. Doesn't work. It has to be his teaching. And Jesus, yeah, he gave us fair warning all through that. If you love me, you'll keep my commandments, he says. And in the last paragraph of Matthew, he says, and
Teach them to obey everything I've commanded you.
Exactly. It's all through the Gospels. Here is a parable that after the Sermon on the Mount that gives us that we need to be obedient to his teachings.
Amen. Thanks, Harry.
Thank you.